Okay, people. So we have discussed all this. Now moving on further. Right. So just a quick discussion on this agenda called as nomenclature. See, whenever we talk about an uh, ARM CPU, okay, ARM CPU, an ARM CPU will involve an ARM core along with some extra features. Now, if I take an ARM core, we have ARM 7 core, and to this ARM 7 core, some features are added, and it gives one implementation. One implementation will have one nomenclature. Similarly, to the same ARM 7 core, if uh, feature set is slightly changed, then you will have another implementation which is having another nomenclature. Same way, if you have ARM 9 and you take the feature set of ARM 7 and use that on ARM 9, then the nomenclature will change. So, for example, if I say ARM7 TDMI-S is an example of one nomenclature. If I say ARM9 TDMI-S is another nomenclature, means each nomenclature refers to each different nomenclature refers to a different implementation. So ARM7 TDMI-S is ARM7 based core. ARM9 TDMI-S is an ARM9 based core, but there is a feature set which is common between that ARM7 implementation, ARM7 TDMI-S implementation, and ARM9 uh, TDMI-S. That feature set remains common, but ARM7 is a Harvard architecture, sorry, one human architecture, and ARM9 is a Harvard architecture that is there. Apart from that, maybe some instruction also may be changing. Maybe ARM9 will be having a little bit more instructions as compared to ARM7. So a nomenclature is basically a name given to an implementation which tries to give uh, an information about the feature set which is supported by the uh, ARM implementation. So if I say ARM7 TDM-S, 7 here, ARM XYZ, you can see X here, ARM7. 7 here indicates the family. Y and Z feature is not present in this nomenclature, ARM7 TDMI-S. Okay, so I'm just trying to annotate, just a moment. See, suppose if I give here ARM 7 TDMI hyphen S. Okay, ARM7 TDMI hyphen S. So here the 7 indicates the family. So the feature about family name is given there, and X and Y feature is not available directly in the core. Okay, and T stands for support for thumb instruction set decoder. So T is available. D stands for JTAG support. M stands for fast multiplier, that is MAC unit. I stands for in-circuit emulation, that is for also debugging. Means I told you we have debugging using real-time monitor, and then we have that in-circuit emulation. So three levels of debugging I told you. Out of 3 levels of debugging, we have what we call the 3 levels of debugging available in this code. And S stands for something called as synthesizable. I'll explain that in a short while. So this is one nomenclature. Same way, if I say ARM7 20T, this is another nomenclature. So what is the commonness in this nomenclature and the previous nomenclature is T feature is present and it is an ARM7 same core, but 2 and 0 feature is not present in the previous one. So 2 and 0 feature indicates the presence of memory management unit and a cache unit, you can say. Memory management or protection unit are also called as a cache unit. And same way, if I go for ARM7, ARM7 22T, This is also another implementation or another nomenclature where 722 again is showing slightly different information about presence of memory management and cache unit. But key feature is there in all the three thumb instructions. So same way if I go for ARM 9 TDMI-S. So the TDMI feature, which is present in ARM 7, is also present in ARM 9, but ARM 9 is a bit more advanced architecture. ARM 7 is a three-stage pipeline. ARM 9 is a five-stage pipeline. Okay, and it supports a Harvard architecture, whereas ARM 7 supports a one-human architecture. ARM 9 is having extra instructions in its instruction set compared to the ARM 7. So in that way, there are variations in the core, but the TDMA feature set, that is the presence of the thumb decoder and the JTAG and the fast multiplier and the MAC unit, and that feature called as synthesizable is present. So this is basically what we mean by a nomenclature. So there are lots of nomenclatures out there in the world of ARM CPU implementations. I repeat, there are several nomenclatures. So whichever nomenclature that we are going to use for our embedded board or target board, we have to select. So whichever embedded board we are trying to design using the ARM CPU, we have to select whether the feature set that we expect this embedded board to have uh, in terms of programming support or hardware support, is that feature set available in the ARM core or not. Accordingly, we have to choose that core with that feature set, that is called as, we have to choose the right nomenclature ARM implementation for our requirement. Just please have a look at this slide to give you a bit more information about what I was discussing. Okay, people, I hope you're able to get an idea what is meant by the nomenclature. So you can see ARM 7 TDMI, ARM 922T, ARM 926EJ-S. E talks about the presence of enhanced instructions. Enhanced instruction is talking about extra instructions like DSP or DIP related instructions. Then you have J. J stands for support for Jezel. Okay. And then you have again the word synthesizable. So we have ARM 1176JZF. So there are so many. I myself have not uh, practically worked on all these advanced cores at the very core level. Most of the advanced cores will be used at, let us say, a high level using an operating system. So people, when they are selling out the advanced cores, they'll try to keep ready an operating system so that they can support that core with a good operating system, which will help boost their sales or market. So anyway, you can see these are the different types of cores. So the conclusion here is, whenever you talk about an ARM processor architecture, an ARM processor architecture comprises of an instruction set plus programmer's model. So what is a processor architecture? It is an instruction set plus programmer's model. It implies that the processor architecture combines a version of an instruction set. So you have instruction set version names like 40, V40 we call it, instruction set version 40, instruction set version 5TE, instruction set version 6, instruction set version 7. Right now here in this picture, it's showing you Cortex A series, R series, M3 series, M1 series, like that. But of course, right now, I think we are even having the Cortex uh, Cortex A53 or onwards. So the Raspberry Pi, just to bring it up. So we have the Raspberry Pi latest versions, Raspberry Pi Model 4B Plus or something like that. So this Raspberry Pi Model 4B Plus is a octa-core. Okay, it's an octa-core CPU. Before that, Raspberry Pi Model 4B was quad-core 64-bit. It was a quad-core 64-bit. Raspberry Pi Model 4B Plus is an octa-core 64-bit. I think so. It's an octa-core 64-bit, and it is probably using the instruction set version V8. Here mentioned are version 4T, version 5TE, version 6, version 7. The Raspberry Pi latest version is using probably the version V8. So as the instruction set version revision is taking place, the capability of that instruction set also increases. So this was just a briefing about what is the development of the ARM architecture. Next, usually the cores which have been developed in the timeline after the ARM 7 TDMI-S. I repeat, usually all the ARM cores which have been developed after the ARM 7 TDMI, in timeline after the ARM 7 TDMI was developed, include the TDMI features by default, even though if they may not have the names mentioned in them. Means in terms of time development, though it was though the letters are not mentioned and they have been developed after the time when ARM TDMI had started, they are including the feature of TDMI with what we call, even though if those characters or nomenclature is not mentioned. Okay, people, I hope you're getting it. Hello, people. Am I going at a slow pace enough for you to absorb? Hello, people. Am I going at a slow pace enough for you to absorb?
Little bit fast, sir.
Okay, it's fast. Let me slow down again. Okay, the development of the ARM architecture. So whenever you talk about an ARM architecture, it comprises of a processor, means processor architecture here implies the combination of an instruction set version along with a programmer's model. Instruction set version is just a name given to an instruction set which has some capabilities, and programmer's model is basically talking about the accessibility of the registers. Like we discussed, we have 7 modes of operations in the ARM 7, and in this 7 modes of operations, each mode will allow you to access a maximum of 16 registers, namely R0 to R15 registers. Apart from that, you have the CPSR and SPSR registers. So the accessibility of the registers in the architecture is called as the programmer's model. So the registers which are accessible to the programmer is basically referred to as the programmer's model. So as you go from ARM 7 to probably ARM 9, ARM 11, ARM Cortex, maybe a few more registers might have been added, or the register model might have slightly changed or got enhanced, but still we call it as a programmer's model. Registers which are accessible by the programmer in the core, these are called as programmer's model. So the combination of the register set, core register set, along with the instruction set being used is referred to as a processor architecture. So a processor architecture may use an instruction set version, namely 4T. Then you have instruction set version 5TE, version 6, version 7, and do we have until now instruction set version 8. So as you go from a lower instruction set version to a higher instruction set version, the capabilities which the instruction set will be able to support will increase. That is the what we call overall funda about the development of the ARM architecture. And I also mentioned that all cores which have been developed in timeline after the development of the ARM7 TDMI-S include the features by default, even though the TDMI feature is not mentioned in the nomenclature. Okay, people? Next, discussing about the thumb mode. Now, we have two instruction set in ARM7, and I think if you go to ARM9 probably or ARM11, I'm not sure because I have not worked at core level with ARM9 or ARM11. I repeat, I'm admitting that I have not worked with core level in ARM9 or ARM11. I have worked at a higher level in ARM9 and ARM11 where an operating system support was there, and through the operating system we are using the ARM9 or ARM11 or even the ARM Cortex cores for our application. But I have not worked with core bare metal programming. Bare metal programming means knowing about the core registers of the ARM architecture and trying to write a program in assembly language or embedded C programming language. I have not done it for ARM 9, 11, like and Cortex series at all, because for that operating systems are comfortably there, which make our job easier. So core level I have worked in ARM7 so far, and as far as the ARM7 is concerned, it has two instruction set. One is called as the ARM instruction set, the other one is called as thumb instruction set. But I think probably if you go to ARM9 or ARM11, you have three instruction sets. One is called as the ARM instruction set. Second one is called as the thumb instruction set. Third one is called as the thumb2 instruction set. This is what I am aware about. I have not worked on thumb2 instruction set, but this is how information I have about thumb2 instruction set. So thumb2 is a kind of instruction set which is much better in terms of features. Okay, and apart from thumb2 instruction set, if you move on to more higher versions of the ARM, it will have more instruction set. So right now, since we're learning and focusing on ARM7 from core programming point of view, the two instruction sets, one is called as the ARM instruction set, which is a 32-bit instruction set. The other one is called as thumb instruction set, which is a 16-bit instruction set. But the 16-bit instruction set, thumb, is a type of instruction which, if it is fetched from the code section, it does not go into the decoding unit directly, because the thumb instruction set is it's a compressed instruction of the ARM instruction set. So when a thumb instruction set is fetched, and before fetching the thumb instructions from the CPU, user must have configured or programmed the CPU that the thumb bit in the CPSR register must be set so that the next instruction being fetched, if it is a thumb instruction, it must be decoded as per thumb instruction set decoder. So when the thumb instruction set decoder decodes that instruction, it will again expand it or decompress it back into a 32-bit instruction ARM. Then it will send it to the ARM instruction decoder. Then it will be decoded, then executed. So this is what happens with a thumb instruction. So in the case of thumb instruction set, whenever you're using a thumb instruction set, you are not having the privilege to access all the 13 general purpose registers that you were able to access in ARM instruction set. Like in ARM instruction set, we can access the 13 general purpose registers, namely R0 to R12, whereas R13 is the stack pointer, R14 is the subroutine link register, and R15 is the program counter. Okay, So do not get worried about these things, because when we start programming, these things will automatically be applicable in the programming, and as they're getting applied in the programming, you will be getting acquainted with them or familiarized with them more and more as we are doing the programming. Okay, people? Okay, people, do not worry about the names that I'm mentioning right now. I'm mentioning the name now. Again, I'll mention it later in another class. Again, I'll mention it later in another class, like that. But we will do programming practicals where these will become applicable. These names will become applicable, and you will be getting to be familiar with them. So the registers that we are accessing in the register file, that is R0 to R15. Out of R0 to R15, R0 to R12 are the GPR registers, general purpose registers, which are accessible in the ARM mode. And R13 is the stack pointer, R14 is the subroutine link register, and R15 is the program counter. In the case of the thumb instruction set, privilege has not been given to access all the 13 general purpose registers. Only 8 general purpose registers, R0 to R7, can be used in the instruction of thumbs. So restricted. So you can see that is also a level of security kind of thing. Next, the CPU can be made to switch from ARM mode instruction set to thumb mode instruction set dynamically. Means default it will be in ARM mode. From ARM mode, it can be made to switch to thumb mode. And while it is in thumb mode, it can again be made to switch to ARM mode. Again, from thumb mode, ARM mode, it can maybe switch to thumb mode. So it can be made to switch interchange from ARM mode to thumb mode to ARM mode dynamically during runtime of the application. This ability of the ARM core to switch from ARM mode to thumb mode to ARM mode dynamically during the execution of the application is called as interworking of ARM and thumb instructions. I repeat, this ability of the ARM core to dynamically switch from ARM mode to thumb mode to ARM mode of interpretations is called as interworking of ARM and thumb instructions. And this interworking of ARM and thumb instructions, if it is going to be employed in developing uh, applications at a higher levels, means if a C compiler is going to be designed for an ARM architecture, and the C compiler has to be able to interpret the high level statements into ARM instruction set or thumb instruction set based on the options of the compiler settings, then the C compiler has to be designed according to certain standards which are given by the ARM designer. And those standards are called as ATPCS standards. ATPCS standards, where ATPCS stands for standards talk about, imply ARM thumb procedure call standards. ARM thumb procedure call standards. So the ARM thumb procedure call standards, abbreviated as ATPCS standards, are a kind of documentation which has been given out by ARM, that when a program is being written in a high level language, such as say C language, when a function is being defined, which is passing 2 arguments or 3 arguments or 4 arguments, character based arguments or integer based arguments or float based arguments, if a function is returning some arguments, so what are the registers that has to be used for argument passing, for 1 argument, 2 arguments, or 3 arguments, a character type argument, or integer type argument, or float type arguments, like that. What is the return type? When a return type is being used, what register has to be used for returning? Because I told you, ARM architecture is a RISC architecture, and RISC architectures encourage what we call register use more often compared to memory use. So whenever we are whenever we are trying to pass arguments into a function, arguments will be passed via registers. When a return value is being returned out of a function, the return value is also going to be returned using registers. So what registers of the ARM core should be used for argument passing as per the type of arguments and the number of arguments. What registers should be used for argument returning as per type and number of number as per type of return type, like that. So for that, you have a documentation which has been given, that is called as ARM thumb procedure call standards. So according to this ARM thumb procedure call standards, a C compiler developer has to develop a compiler so that it can interpret source code written in C language into assembly language, keeping these ATPCS standards in mind, because this ATPCS standards, if it is followed by every compiler for ARM, then the code interpretation will not be problematic. But if one compiler is not following the ATPCS standards and another compiler is following the ATPCS standards, then writing a code in one compiler and then trying to compile it in another compiler means writing a code in one environment and trying to compile it in another environment will be problem in terms of interpretation as per non-standards. So to standardize the interpretation process also, a standard has been developed called as ATPCS standards, which will define how a function defined in ARM instruction set should be interpreted, how a function defined for thumb instruction set should be interpreted. Okay, people, did you get the gist of what I wanted to discuss? Please confirm. Okay, people, did you get the gist of what I wanted to discuss? Please confirm. Okay, once again, ARM thumb procedure call standards have been suggested by the ARM designers or developers, giving an idea that when a compiler is being designed for the ARM core, this compilers being designed for the ARM core should use this standard in terms of interpretation. So when a compiler has been designed using ATPCS standards, if a program has been written, if a function has been defined where arguments are being passed and return values are being returned, so what set of registers should be used for argument passing? What register has to be used for argument return value of the function? This has been standardized, and this standard has to be followed in all the compilers if they are designed using ATPCS standards. So if a program has been written and tested on one compiler, and the same program is going to be compiled on a different compiler, the arguments being used for argument passing, the registers being used for argument passing and the register being used for return values should meet what we call the rules of what we call ATPCS standards. They should not break the rules of ATPCS standards. This is what ATPCS standard is talking about, ARM thumb procedural call standards, which is telling that these rules have to be followed in designing a C compiler when interpreting ARM source code written in languages like C, C++, for example, high-level code. Is it understood, people? Okay. Because if you're trying to pass registers, if you're trying to pass arguments using ARM instruction set, you can access 13 general purpose registers. If you're trying to access, if you're trying to pass registers using thumb instruction set, you cannot access all the 13 general purpose registers. You are restricted with 8 general purpose registers only. So the interpretation for thumb instruction and the interpretation for ARM instruction will change by the compiler, and this compiler has to interpret this change as per the rules given in the ATPCS standards. So the CPU can be made to switch dynamically between ARM mode of interpretation and thumb mode of interpretation, like that. As I already mentioned, the T bit of the CPSR register should be set by the programmer while the CPU is in the ARM mode, so that the next subsequent instruction it will fetch and try to decode and interpret, it will interpret as thumb instruction. Okay, people, just have a look at this figure for a few seconds. So what is this figure trying to say is the registers. So as you can see, the ARM state is having accessibility for 13 general purpose registers, R0 to R12. Then you have R13 stack pointer, link register, program counter, CPSR, SPSR. Thumb mode is also able to access R0 to R7, but not R8 to R12. And stack pointer, link register, program counter, CPSR and SPSR are accessible just like ARM state. Please read about this slide. Already I've explained it. Okay, people, have you gone through the points in the slide? If anybody is having any questions related to the points in the slide, can pop up their questions. Already I've explained it. Whatever is in the slide, I've already explained it during my discussions. If anybody would like to raise any questions on these points, can ask. Okay, no questions are coming up. So maybe I'm taking that as a signal to go ahead. Look at the next slide. Also, I've explained it, but just what I need to explain there is the use of the operations. So dynamically, as I already mentioned, the ARM processor can switch from ARM mode of interpretation to thumb mode of interpretation. So the switching operation can take place desiringly using an instruction called as BX. We have an instruction, a particular type of instruction called as BX. BX stands with branch with exchange. So the BX instruction can be used for branching or jumping. The other use of BX instruction can be used for branching or jumping, in other words, normally. But the also extra or additional use of the BX instruction is it can be used when the CPU has to switch from ARM mode to thumb mode or thumb mode to ARM mode. So when the CPU is going to make a switch from ARM mode to thumb mode to ARM mode, if at all the T bit is set to 1 and then the BX instruction is given, then the CPU is going to switch from ARM mode to thumb mode and thumb mode to ARM mode of interpretation, desirously using the BX instruction. While the CPU is in the thumb mode of interpretation, if at all, if an interrupt is raised, maybe a FIQ interrupt is raised or an IRQ interrupt is raised or a bot interrupt is raised or an FIQ, an undefined instruction interrupt is raised. What are the other modes we have? software interrupt is raised like that. So whenever an interrupt is raised, then automatically the CPU will be made to switch back from the ARM mode of interpretation to thumb mode. So the question is why? Why will the CPU be automatically forced to switch from thumb mode of interpretation to ARM mode whenever an interrupt is raised in the ARM core? Can you please answer this question? Take your time and try to answer the question. Can anybody please try to answer the question why the CPU automatically switches by itself from ARM mode to thumb mode, from thumb mode to ARM mode whenever an interrupt is raised? CPU is made to switch from ARM mode to thumb mode by the user using the BX instruction. It can be made to switch from thumb mode to ARM mode again by the user using the BX instruction. But if the CPU is in thumb mode of operation and some sort of interrupt is raised, automatically it will switch from thumb mode back to ARM mode without the use of the BX instruction. It will automatically switch. The question is why does it automatically switch from thumb mode back into ARM mode when an interrupt occurs? This is a very, very important question which may be asked in interviews, which has been asked and which may be further asked in interviews. Please try to answer the question. Just a moment, please. Okay, V19HE7P2 is saying performance matters. No, it's not about the performance matters. That is not the key reason about performance matters. V19HE7P2 says performance matters, but that is not the key reason for why it has to forcibly or automatically switch back from thumb mode of interpretation to ARM mode of interpretation. That is not the key reason. The key reason is something else. Can anybody else try to answer it? Yes, people? Nobody's answering? Well, the answer to this question is if you have a look at the registers accessibility in the various modes, okay, if you go for user mode and system mode where you're allowed to access 16 registers. Similarly, if you go for FIQ mode or IRQ mode or undefined mode or supervisor mode or abort mode, which are also able to access the 16 registers. So when the CPU is in thumb mode of operation, if an interrupt is raised of type FIQ or IRQ, the interrupt, that mode of operation which the CPU switches to automatically, that is the ARM or the FIQ mode or the IRQ mode or the undefined mode or the supervisor mode or the abort mode. These modes should have the this modes have the allowance to use what we call 16 registers. So since they have the allowance to use 16 registers, and that allowance to use 16 registers is only possible in the ARM mode of interpretation, but not in the thumb mode of interpretation. So automatically the CPU has to switch to ARM mode of interpretation whenever such whenever interrupts are raised, if the CPU is in thumb mode. Is this understood? Please confirm. Okay. So that was the discussion about this picture. Moving ahead further in the discussion. Please have a reading of this, because this is also something which I have mentioned in my discussions, but maybe an extra point is given over here. Just have a reading. Okay, so what are these points talking about? Already I told you ARM instructions are 32-bit wide and thumb instructions are 16-bit wide. I have already mentioned that. I have also mentioned that thumb instructions are the compressed form of ARM instructions. Thumb instructions do not directly decode and execute. Thumb instructions, after fetch from the memory, they have to be decompressed back into 32-bit ARM instruction. Then they have to go into the ARM instruction decoder, then get decoded, and then the execution goes ahead. So this is already what I mentioned. So an extra point given here is the all ARM instructions support conditional execution, which I already discussed about in the previous classes. What is meant by conditional execution? So it helps in maximizing the throughput of the CPU. So all ARM instructions support conditional execution, whereas thumb instructions mostly do not support conditional execution. Mostly, maybe there may be a few thumb instructions which may support conditional, but most of the thumb instructions do not support conditional execution. Hence, they are said to be unconditional. So this is the difference which you should remember. Okay, just look at this figure again. Just trying to tell you about thumb instruction. Fetch from the memory, passed into a what we call 16-bit thumb That is 16-bit thumb code passed into the instruction pipeline. From the pipeline, it goes to the thumb decompressor, gets decompressed from a 16-bit thumb instruction to a 32-bit ARM instruction, then gets going into a ARM instruction decoder. Okay, guys, next. So here we'll have a break. We'll have a break of 10 minutes and resume in 10 minutes again. Okay. Okay, people, we have a break here for about 10 minutes. We'll start by 12 o'clock after break.